All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going over issue 4, Fantastic Four, Life Story 444. This one is most likely my favorite one. I know I said that about the last one, but I do love this one, and it goes over Ben Grimm. But before we go on, at the time of this recording, Superman hasn't came out yet. I think it comes out on, well, I'm going to go see it tomorrow night, so it's a Thursday. So today's the 9th. I'm so pumped for that movie to come out. But while that movie's coming out, we're going to release a giant video of all the All-Star Supermans that I went over. And we'll probably do that for this one as well, whenever Fantastic Four comes out. So stay tuned for the bigger videos that are like multiple hours long. It's just so you can listen to them in the background or something, gain a little bit of knowledge. But yeah, we're just going to hop in. So meeting with Ben Grimm, we see him in 1994. That's the decade we're in, is the 90s. Ben Grimm says he likes the 90s. He's back in style. A broken clock is right twice a day. I mean, unless it's digital. Let's go. The 90s are awesome. So then he catches us up with what happened. The Soviet Union folded like a disco in a nunnery. If you don't know what happened last issue, the Fantastic Four stopped the nuclear strikes and Johnny died. But basically, Reed gets his funding to make the space launch program that he had in mind, the space protection program. I can't remember what it was called, the Star Wars, I believe. Ben Grimm goes on. Without the demand for military tech, Stark found something useful to do with his toys. He made a hydrogen engine that will make cheap power and clean power. And Ben continues on that we are more interested in pulling each other out of the water than letting each other drown. And we see that Wakanda made a vaccine to get rid of AIDS. It's as if the human race woke up one day and decided to take its own survival seriously. Sue broke up with Namor years ago. Guess she wanted more of a land-based relationship, so everyone's happy. And then we see where Ben Grimm was going, and he's going to Johnny Storm's grave. Preparing for Galactus became Doc's full-time job. Doc and I have been through a lot together over the years, and most of it sucked eggs. But none of that matters anymore, because at some point, it's the loss that binds you together. And it's the pain you share that makes you family. And he's talking to Sue, basically telling her that Reed is too busy to come. He wishes he could. You know how Reed is. So going back to the Baxter building, Ben's going through the bills, the catalog, and we see Reed call for Ben. Hey, what you need there, Stretch? What do you want? And we see Reed talk to Ben. The Mad Thinker has the most advanced computer intelligence on the planet, but it was too embedded with his own personality to be trusted. So I built a cybernetic brain of my own. Once we unlock its full power, it's going to be a game changer. It'll run simulations, constructing the best possible strategy against Galactus. In essence, it will take my place. But that's not why I called you down here. My son Franklin's getting married. And look at Franklin all grown up. He's getting all married. Ben gives him a big old hug, and they invite him to hang out, and he says, it's okay, you guys can go without me. I gotta respond to this mail. He walks away, saying, can't believe he was just a baby a minute ago. Everybody's happy. Almost everybody. The only person that's not happy is Ben Grimm. And his mail says, please meet me by the lake. I'd really like to see you. So if you don't know, Ben Grimm's role of the Fantastic Four is essentially he is the big, strong brute, but also the heart and soul. He feels more deeply than the rest of them, I would say. I love reading about Ben more because it's so tragic to have everything taken from you way more than anybody else has. Like, those stories of him getting just his heart broken are devastating to me. That's my favorite part about Ben. But picking up with Ben, he goes to Central Park. Life is full of opportunities, most of them missed. Is this a mistake? Probably. But then, what isn't? Life's a game of let's make a deal, except there's a donkey behind every door. We only imagine there's prizes, because it's the only thing that keeps us playing a rigged game. And we see who he's waiting on this bench for. It's Sally. So Sally, his lover from like 30 years ago in the 60s, right before he became the Thing, sent him a letter to meet up. And this is going back to what I talked about in the first issue, where he's still publicly Ben Grimm. He's just not answering or talking to her. But she says, Ben, it's been so long. I got these for you. All those years watching you on the TV, watching you save the world, and wondering why you never came to see me. And so Ben Grimm goes on. We spoke for a while. said that what little we had to say to each other, caught up on each other's lives. Turns out she's had a good life. She's married, 3 kids, one's in college. I'm happy for her, but I'm glad I didn't ruin 2 lives. And he explains to her, you can never be happy with someone like me. I can't even be happy with me. Like I'm just a human gravel pit. She leaves with closure. She says it was really nice to see you, Ben. And Ben goes on the last thing. There's a reason why they only bring flowers to the sick and the dying and people in love. Poor Ben. I mean, that's devastating. That's terrible, honestly. But we catch up with the Fantastic Four meeting in Puerto Rico. And we learn that the object spotted 20 years ago that Reed identified as Galactus is accelerating, and it's on the way. They say we have a rate of just few years until he comes over here. They ask Reed if they think we're good. Reed says, I believe so. It's a race against time, but I think it's one we'll win. But you were right, Our fear was never going to save us. Some jobs are too important to be left to anything but hope. And then we see that they announce that Galactus is indeed on the way. They announce that at Times Square. Reed says, hopefully we can defeat him. And Ben Grimm goes on, when they announced the news that Galactus was coming and coming soon, I thought everyone would be sweating like a basement toilet, but they were positively euphoric. Perhaps they felt like this was their chance to show what the human race was really made of, to show that when the chips were down, we could really come together and be what we were always capable of being. Or maybe we were just trying to convince ourselves that everything was going to be all right. I don't know, but for the Doc's part, he wasn't pretending. He really thought this AI was the key to beating Galactus. Or maybe hope is just the caulk we use to fill the gaps in our lives. And we see that Ben is lamenting about Sally, so he signs up for online dating, which is, what are you doing, Ben? Ben says, I tried computer dating. It did not go as planned. And it's because he's catfishing. I mean, he's just putting up his old photo from 30 years ago. You're like 50, Ben. He's like, sometimes we had fun, but that's what all it was for them, was just fun. But then we see before he gave up on computer dating, he got one last message. We have a perfect match for you. And he goes to the bar that he always goes to. I'm on a blind date. And we see that it's Alicia, who is his wife and like everything. I love Alicia. She's really cool. She's awesome. But she is blind. So really, it is a blind date. We see that they actually hit it off. Ever have that feeling that you just met someone that you've known all your life? Well, neither had I until that night. We sat there for hours just talking. I went home feeling like I won the lottery. And he tells Reed, these computers are amazing. He goes on, I'd almost forgotten what it was like to feel happy, to feel human, and that worried me. Had I been a thing for so long that none of this felt real to me. Not sure if I was afraid or being hurt of losing the pain, but for a while I stopped calling her. So Ben Grimm, after stopped talking to her, goes and meets with her to tell her something that he thinks that she should know about. And this is where we find some of Ben Grimm's troubles. There's something that happened to me back when I was a pilot in the Korean War. We were flying missions over occupied territory, bombing enemy supply lines. What they didn't tell us was that the supply lines usually went through villages, civilian ones. They was too polite to tell us what we were really bombing. They was some good guys I served with. On weekends, we used to go to the nearby orphanage. Tony and we'd take the orphans out for some candy, play with them for a while, to make them feel like everything was going to be okay, and maybe to make ourselves feel that way too. But one day, there were all these new kids, all bandaged, all broken. The whole place suddenly looked like a hospital ward. When I asked what was going on, the guy who ran the place told me that the new kids were from a small town up by the front. When I got back to base, I looked the town up on a map. I discovered what I already knew, but didn't want to admit to myself. It was one of the places we bombed. One of the places I bombed. And Alicia interjects, it wasn't your fault, you didn't know. And Ben replies, because that's how they build wars. A whole lot of murdering that was nobody else's fault. But these kids didn't know who bombed them, and I never told them, but it was never the same after that day. When I noticed all that the kids had to eat was something they generously called soup, I spoke to the guy in charge. He said that in order to cover the additional numbers, the orphanage had to cut everyone's food in half. The kids loved me, and I was the worst thing that ever happened to them. It was a war, they explained. In war, everybody has a duty, and no one has responsibility. But we're still just people. And God help me, I decided to act like one. And we see that he punches his sergeant in the face. And so, because he punches his sergeant in the face, they kick him out. They court-martialed me the next day. Got a dishonorable discharge. I never saw those kids again. Still not sure what I was hoping to find that day. Redemption? It didn't even come close to making up for what I'd done. So who am I to be happy? And Alicia replies, look, I can't tell you how to feel about me, how to feel about your past, but I know that whatever we do, whoever we become, there's still a person somewhere inside of us, and it's our job to find them. So they walk outside, and then they get under an umbrella, and Ben says, I never told anyone that story, you know. And she says, Ben, all I know is that there's so little love and joy in the world that when you're lucky enough to find somebody, don't talk yourself out of it. Sometimes the scariest thing about falling in love is feeling like you deserve it. But you do deserve it. We both do. And then they kiss. Oh, so good. And so we cut to sometime in the future in 1996 where Ben breaks into Reed Richards' room. Doc, are you still asleep? Wake up. Your boy's getting married today. We can't miss it. You have any idea how hard it was to rent a tuxedo this big? Reed's like, what? What's going on? Ben says, you overslept. Let's get up. You got to get up. So Reed does something that I do love, and he just fixes his face to look younger. I love Ryan North's use of Reed Richards, where he's just flexible, doing whatever, doing random stuff. He does the megaphone. He does the eye stuff. It's so nice. It's so funny. So we go to Franklin Richards' wedding, where he is marrying a lady from Wakanda, and both of his parents are watching, and Reed is looking very interested in Sue Storm. So they share a dance, and while dancing, Reed goes, our space defense against Galactus is finished, ready as we're ever going to be. What I'm trying to say is that I was a fool, Sue, that replaced love with work, but I'm ready to live again. And Sue says, I don't know about that. I love you, but you don't live as much as you want to build a monument to your life. You try so hard, but you're building a statue of the man you think you're supposed to be. You can love a statue, but it'll never love you back. So after saying that, Reed has like a little panic attack, and he's like, Galactus, I can feel Galactus, he's here. So they stand up, everybody. Ben gives Alicia one big kiss. A kiss is a promise that he won't die out there. Promises are what we hold on to when we finally have something worth losing. The gang flies into space. Sue Storm says the object is entering the solar system it should be here in, and we see a fast object just destroy all of Reed's defenses around the Earth. Reed goes on, I can no longer feel his presence. Something is wrong. That's not Galactus. Who is it? None other than the Silver Surfer. And Reed goes on, we lost. It only took a minute, and we lost everything. And Ben Grimm says, no, we haven't yet. We just found a woman who loves me, and I'm not going to let that go without a fight. And the Silver Surfer says, yeah, you guys are pathetic. But Ben hops out of the spaceship anyways and kicks Silver Surfer in the face. If killing us both is what it takes, then so be it. Count no man happy till the end, and count no man out when he's fighting for what he loves. Is this what they call redemption? And the Silver Surfer just calls back his board, and he's like, yeah, that wasn't that bad. All right, see ya. And Ben says, well, this sucks. I'm sorry. But Reed grabs onto Ben, pulls him back into the ship. So we're all good. And then we see that the Silver Surfer doesn't attack. He just circles around the globe like a taxi cab looking for an address. Perhaps he was sizing us up, like the new kid in school trying to figure out which one of us he was going to try to jack for money. Whatever he saw in us, he must have not been interested, because he just walked up to our front door and told us how it was going to be. And he announces, you may call me the Herald. And you know who's Herald. You've always known. Your defenses are worthless. I destroy them with barely any effort, and I am but 1/1000th as powerful as he. It's too late for you people of Earth. Ben says, turns out the universe is like a heavyweight boxing. Once in a while, you just get stuck between two evenly matched fighters, but most of the time it's just some poor dreamer getting obliterated by the champ. And the Silver Surfer goes on, I suggest you make whatever peace you can. Tell yourselves whatever you need to in order to find the meaning in the end. For my master will arrive 10 years from now. Galactus is coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. So Ben leaves Sue. He's going to go home and see Alicia. Life can be so damn cruel. Gives you everything, but then just takes it from you just as fast. Gives you time enough to think what's going on before it all ends, to figure out what matters. So when you finally know what you want, don't waste another second, because life is cruel, but so damn good. And he proposes to Alicia. And she says, yes, of course they do. And then we cut to 1999. In less than 24 hours, Times Squares will be buzzing as we celebrate the end of the decade, the end of the century, and the end of a millennium. As this may be one of the last times we ever meet, we wanted to do something special to celebrate New York's greatest heroes, without whom we wouldn't have made it to the year 2000. The Fantastic Four! We'd like to thank them for their service, for all they've done for us over the years. Truly, they're the best we've ever had. And something's going on with Reed. Something is happening with him. But before we figure that out, the issue ends. Fantastic Four 5 is next. The 2000s, the 2000s. For some reasons, I just couldn't say it right. But thank you for listening, watching, and enjoying. This one was one of the shorter ones, but it doesn't matter. I'm in the middle of moving, so these are kind of recorded in a weird order, but that doesn't matter. Anyways, be sure to comment, like, subscribe. We did do a edition of one of our subs recommendations. So if you have any recommendations, put them in there. We will go over the ultimate and absolute stuff. Give it some time, though. But thank you for enjoying. Peace out.